Ryan King is with us. He's with CIDAN Machinery. And Heidi and I were at the Florida Roofing Expo, one of our first roofing expos back in person. And it was super exciting. And we visited with Ryan and in his booth, and we were just looking at the technology and thinking, oh, we didn't really know that there was this much technology into making metal into the shape you want it in and getting it to fit where you want it on a roof. So we asked Ryan if he would join us and do a tech talk, just kind of talking about machinery technology and metal in the industry and what he's seeing from his perspective. So Ryan, if you want to go ahead and take control here.
Sure.
We'll get started with the tech talk.
All right, let's hit share screen here. Could you see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, well, hey everybody, appreciate everybody being on and giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit today about technology, especially how it comes into the roofing industry, and especially when it comes to sheet metal in the roofing industry. So a lot of things I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to keep it pretty concise. I know with so many Zoom meetings the last 18 months and wanting to be in person that I'm going to be pretty quick, but give a good amount of detail at the same time. For some people, I think some of the things you'll say, oh, I know a lot about this. I deal with it every day. And I think other people, you might not see that much of this, and it might be new to you, like Karen was saying. Whoops. So having said that, a little bit about myself and CIDAN. I've been in the roofing industry coming on 10 years. I started out with OMG, selling fasteners and adhesives and such. I worked for a large roofing contractor, mostly on commercial flat roof. I also worked for a time with a supplier of wall panels and cladding, things like ACM, insulated panels, that sort of thing. And now I've been with CIDAN for about 2.5 years on the machinery side. And as somewhat of a, the kid who took apart VCRs and stuff as a kid, getting to play with machines, it was something that was really cool to me. In terms of CIDAN, the company's over 100 years old. We've been making sheet metal equipment since about the 40s. Our bread and butter is really when it comes to folders and shears for the roofing market. But as you can see on the screen here, we get involved with coil processing, with brakes, with industrial equipment, with roll forming, material storage, and software. And actually, I was fortunate towards the later part of my presentation, I have Mike Calhoun, who is part of our new IT team, which really dives in a little deeper on our software side and what's out there in the marketplace. But again, I wanted to start a little bit before we get to the latest and greatest. So just briefly, as a lot of people know this, and I didn't want to get too deep in the numbers here, but we all know everybody's been pretty busy the last few years, that both the construction market and the roofing market, but also specifically even projected metal market has grown and it continues to grow. Even with shortages and even with price increases, in talking to my customers, we still see a ton of growth in this market. One part of that is that even when it's not a metal roof, there's probably metal on that roof. You can see everything from as simple as a drip edge to valleys on a tile roof, to gutters on another residential roof, metal roofs themselves, and even things like coping or fascia on a flat roof. So metal it's everywhere. It's on every job, whether it's a little part of it or it's the major part of it. Another big thing, and this is something I really noticed a few years ago when I was selling wall panels, metal roofing, and ACM, is that the metal is not just a warehouse anymore or a barn. Barn dominiums have taken off. We've worked with tons of customers that they're getting so much demand for metal buildings and barn dominiums and cladding that their local supplier can't keep up, and so they've got out there and started doing this themselves and not just relied on others to make it for them. But I mean, these are high-end projects. I mean, you have this Core 10 rusted look on Taco Bell now. I mean, before they were always just brick or EFIS or something. Barn dominiums, blown up, especially in the central U.S. And in the South as well. I mean, look at, I mean, an Audi dealership with corrugated, perforated metal. So I mean, it just continues to grow, and really no one sees an end in sight to it. When it comes to the technology that's come out now, a big reason why contractors especially have gone to making their own metal instead of the traditional going to a sheet metal shop route, I really look at three main reasons. One is quality. Quality and custom. Before, it was, you know, whoever was in your area, whoever you can get metal from. If you didn't liked it, there wasn't that many options. Furthermore, you can get into custom. If you have that job that, you know, they always bend it a certain way for a certain type of project or roof, that was what you got. And maybe on the site you had to tweak it or snip it or whatever you had to do. If you have your own process like this, you make it to your job, and usually it's going to make it a lot easier for your team in the field. Another one is obviously margins. You know, you're cutting out somebody else that has to do all this work for you. You can be making that money as well when it comes to a contractor. And lastly, of course, is time. When you're buying from somebody else, you're at their mercy. Of course, there's going to be good and bad sheet metal shops that can turn it around for you in hours or a day. And there's going to be some guys that are weeks and months to get you off that job. So these are three key reasons when we talk to our customers that are especially the ones that are newer to buying some of this. I show this little Prime logo here that I literally snipped off of my Prime account, and that is, we live in an I want it now type world. If you can't deliver in a matter of days, people go elsewhere, even if it's more expensive. I'm not going to poll the group, but I got to imagine, I bet I'm being conservative by saying that at least 50% of this group has Amazon Prime. If I'm crazy, shout it out at me now. But people expect things now and quick. Again, let's start with the old before I get into the new. Here's a very old wooden handbrake. It might be a little too old, but I mean, this is how people have been forming metal for many years. The first part of this traditional way of doing things was a lot of manual work. You had to calculate all your bends and know how to bend the piece. And you obviously also had to manually move the machine yourself. This is obviously much more labor intensive and takes a lot more practice. This also meant that your guy knew how to make a part and he made it. If there was something different, people rarely wanted to do that. So most things were standard. That goes, of course, now with highly skilled. You can't train somebody in a few days or weeks. It's going to take months and years for these guys to be very good sheet metal workers. So you needed guys and really invest in them long term. Because of all this, that's why years ago you did not see as many sheet metal shops as you do today. And I show this bottom screen here, which is kind of a little precursor to what Mike's going to talk about, but a lot of people see this, the napkin drawing. You know, you can already see there's scratched off there, and there's a quarter, it looks like, over something else. And so as we evolve through here, I'm going to show you how something like that can almost be eliminated with the technology today. So wanted to be visual here instead of just plowing through a PowerPoint. So I wanted to show how today, unlike manually calculating all your bends and everything, and here's a look, for example, at a Schechtel screen. This is somebody just drawing a part, and I didn't show a whole clip here, but it's a gutter, and they're just drawing it. I mean, almost anybody on here, even if you've never touched any of this equipment before, I could probably have you making this in I don't know, an hour or so. You could probably be trained enough to program one of these parts. And then as you go farther down the evolution, I mean, there's automatic, where your operator isn't even touching the part a vast majority of the time, making very complex parts you never would have made before. Even things like on coil processing, where instead of the operator having to move the knives of a machine for your blanks, are now able to be controlled by a computer. And furthermore, can be calculated by the computer. So not only is it moving that knife by itself, but there's math and equations done by the system to maximize your yield and be faster and more efficient. It's gone even farther than just what I showed there, to where we have robots and other systems to get people completely out of the way. And I shouldn't say completely, but just more efficient, where one person is doing what 2 or 3 people could do before. And I haven't gone too much into it now, but just like other industries, labor right now is very tough. Again, I'm sure if I polled everybody here, a lot of people would probably have, help wanted signs out front of their door. So by taking the labor you already have and making them better, faster, and more efficient, like for example, on all of these, you don't even see, actually at the bottom right, you can see one guy just picking up the pieces that are done. So again, this is where the industry keeps going for a lot of these reasons we're talking about. And I wanted to show just a brief video here. This is, I'm sorry? Was there a question? Okay. Wanted to show a quick video here of really, this is where the industry keeps going. I mean, all that automation is cool, and here's what we can even do today. We're a European company, so you got to have a little techno beats in it. So that there obviously is something you're not going to see at any, sheet metal shop in America. I mean, that is definitely much more of a advanced setup, but for medium to large companies, that is where the industry is going. That you saw one person there is running basically an entire trim shop. So as the business keeps evolving, those are the types of things we're seeing out there. So real quick, we're going to do like the 5-minute quick demo here. I'm going to pass the screen to Mike, who can really show you how the software, and this is really where the technology starts tying everything together. So I'm going to unshare and give him control.
All right.
Oh, maybe it's not. You muted?
Yeah.
I'm muted, so.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to show you guys some of new IT and how it works, and kind of explain some of the changes and exciting things we're bringing to the industry. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you guys will be able to see kind of what we're able to do over here. We're going to share on
Bottom middle. You should see this. Yeah.
So this is new IT. This is a order and production management software. And as Ryan kind of hit on, one of the things that has been, I'm sure, standard in the industry for pretty much as long as it's been here are communication issues, I'll call it, between what the customer wrote down, what they need to have produced, and what we're able to let our customers would see on the receiving end and be able to put into production. But what new IT does, just on the first level, is pretty much allow you or allow someone who is producing their own trim for metal shops to eliminate all of that confusion. They're going to have their customers be able to pretty much draw out profiles exactly how they need it to be, hems, open and close, top or bottom, Selecting material is a breeze. I'm a Georgia boy, so we're gonna go with country red. Putting things on the top or the bottom. So now, where in the past for, hundreds of years, people have been trying to figure out how do I correctly, relay what I need for my material. We're going to be able to, completely eliminate that with some new technologies that come out. As well as, making adjustments, click of the button. And then as Ryan pointed out, kind of with the way that everyone is familiar with Amazon today with, shopping for everything else, putting things in the cart, as far as what people need for their particular order is now super easy as well. Same thing with products. So we really have made it so that now, as far as just people who want to get into metal fabricating, running their own shop, helping provide customers in the industry with better and more efficient ways of ordering, they're now able to look into more options to just allow people to order online, put things in the cart easily with the way that everybody's familiar with, and then send over exactly what they're looking for. So there's any type of miscommunication, that some of the responsibility is on the customer without you having to put it on. Another great thing is that you're able to, track all of your orders as they come in remotely. So it used to be that to be an office manager or production manager, you would have to be in there all day, or if you're managing multiple locations, that can sometimes be a headache. With a system like New IT, you're able to kind of plan out different days, different weeks, move things around in different locations. And another cool thing about it is that you can even figure out optimized ways of planning your cuts so that you're reducing your scrap. So, people are always trying to figure out, how do I kind of prepare for this job? Where do I need to go to, how am I going to cut this material so that, I'm not having to throw away a bunch of material at the end of the day. We're now able to have it so that customers are able to pretty much pre-plan every single cut they need to make, know what type of scraps they're going to have, and drops they're going to have for every cut. And then, sometimes be able to, sell some of those drops as stock items. So in a lot of ways, it's able to help out customers on managing production, being able to take in orders, and then being able to track it all the way out the door, where we can even have a delivery board to show, kind of what's going in and what's going out every day. So just with technology in the roofing industry has really made it so that, especially with automation becoming more prevalent, with it being harder and harder to find new skilled employees, running a shop is going to be a lot more pain-free. Just with customers starting to look more into shops, looking more and more into technology and how to take advantage of it. But yeah, that would pretty much be a very quick and brief overview of just kind of New IT and how it works, and just I would say order and production software as a whole. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, always feel free to reach out and let me know. It's Michael Calhoun with CIDAN Machinery.
Awesome. So one thing Mike didn't talk about there is these profiles, these drawings can actually be sent directly to the machines as well.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
You're good. So that's another step in the evolution of reducing that paper, that that extra work that's needed to be done, and where mistakes happen gets avoided by doing it this way. So I just got a couple more slides. Let me pull this back up. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
There you go. Wow. There we go. So there's just another screenshot of New IT there. So really, in summary, to wrap everything up we just talked about, the market keeps growing. Metal is acceptable and really even taking over brick and EIFS and other things like that just weren't what they were 10, 20 years ago. The machinery itself has obviously completely evolved, as you just seen. Things that used to be very slow and manual can now be pumped out with less work and less people. To the exact point there, less people, you're making the people you have better. It took a very skilled person, and that's not to diminish anybody who obviously is still a very skilled worker. There's still some things that you do need that. But a lot of these people I can train most people in this room in a day or two how to form a lot of stuff, a lot of parts, whereas that's going to take weeks and months and sometimes years to be an expert. There's also new designs. You go down a lot of these buildings with very different designs and curves and radius and all sorts of different beautiful panels that, again, just really wouldn't be possible, or if they were, it'd be extremely expensive because they would have to be done by hand. To what we just talked about with Mike, it's very simple economics. If everything's connected and talking and being quicker, it's more profitable and you can do more with what you have. And to the Amazon point, as a culture, we want it now. If you don't have machines that are keeping you ahead of everybody else, you're going to just fall behind. So that's always my favorite little commercial from the JG Wentworth. It's my money, I want it now. It's my roofing part, I want it now. It's my Amazon order, I want it now. So again, like I said, I wanted to keep it short, and just want to see if there's any questions or anything now.
Ryan, thank you. I'm curious, what kind of an investment? I know there's probably a wide range of depending what you want, but you know, for a medium to large commercial contractor, what kind of investment is involved? And are there formulas to show it pays for itself over, you know, how long of a time?
Sure. It's going to be so case by case. I would say the most common, you know, set of machine we sell or a competitor of mine would sell would be, for example, like a 10-foot shear and a 10-foot folder or break. They can then buy 4x10 sheets or whatever sheets they have. They throw it in their machine, cut it, fold it, and now right now they at least control that part of their operation. An investment like for just those machines, you're in the neighborhood of about $100,000. So by no means pocket change, but it's not like you need $1 million or something to set up some of these shops. When it comes to, for example, the more the metal building and the ag post frame type people that are buying 20-foot folders and coil processing, you know, those can be you know, a few $100,000 to over $1 million, you know, again, depending what level of, and way more than that, like that system you saw, the base, I mean, that's obviously a very big investment. That's a lot of software. That's a lot of programming, a lot of time and engineering to get it where it is there today. But it's quite a range. And in terms of payoff, again, the machine makes you better, right? If the machine sits there 4 days a week, then the payoff's probably not going to be great. But if you're using it every day and then you look to expand your business to also sell other contractors, I don't want to say anything that's not factual, but I mean, it's probably for most people well under a year that they should get that return on investment.
Ryan, I had a question.
Yeah.
How, and if you said this, forgive me, but are you incorporating drones and drone measurements along with aerial imagery measurements into the software as you're putting those calculations together? How's that working?
That is not something that we do. It's something I would imagine some of our customers might do so that they can assist. Like, for example, a big sheet metal shop or a roofer can now use drone technology or something like an Eagle View that maybe helps them say, okay, you'll take a commercial flat roof with coping. They could probably measure that and very quickly get an idea of what the metal time and cost is going to be. But we ourselves do not work directly in, you know, with a drone or, you know, anything that ties like that into our system. Any other questions for Mike or myself that we can answer for anybody? And I will say too, on good news, everybody's talked about metal and shortages and everything. I've talked to a few customers in the last few weeks, and they said they've started to see actually a decrease in cost of metal and cost of goods. So I don't think it's going to be a bubble necessarily. That's just my opinion. But we are seeing good news that it's not going to keep going up like crazy and that we should be able to get our hands on more metal.
Anna, did you have a question? I saw one in the chat.
I was just, I love that you have the online ordering and the interconnection. A big thing that we're looking at is the connection between the APIs and talking to different platforms. Is that something that you currently have a list of integrations available, or?
I'm gonna let Mike take this one.
So currently we are integrated with QuickBooks Online for invoicing. We also have some integration with, I believe, Avis for some of accounting as well. Mostly what it comes down to is that we have an open API. So pretty much really any software out there we can connect with. The only thing that we really need to know in most instances is what information they need from us. So, we can tell them what lengths they're ordering, what weight they're ordering, the square footage that's being used, what products they're pulling out of inventory, any information that you could possibly need, I guess, to, run your invoicing or inventory, we can push out. Usually it just takes having a connection with the company that you're currently working with for them to say, yeah, I need these codes to be sent over, and then we'll be able to populate that in our database. And we have a fully open API, so any of the information that's produced can be sent over. We just need someone who knows what they're doing on the other end.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great.
I had one more question, sorry, but I just find this so fascinating. But one of the things that I hear a lot is, and over the years, I know a number of roofing contractors who have their own sheet metal shops who are doing this, commercial, residential, across the board. But I'm curious, are you seeing more roofing contractors opening up sheet metal shops, or, what's the trend look like?
Yeah. Well, sorry, we're in the same room.
Ryan, we can't hear you.
There we go. Now I'm muted. Sorry, I was trying to prevent the echo. We're in the same room. Sorry. Absolutely, we're seeing massive increases of people, wanting to again control their process more than anything. From the machine side and the labor side. I mean, the double folders, for example. I mean, they're doing the work of 2 or 3 people in some cases, sometimes more. And so, especially in places like the Northeast with very high labor costs, it's very easy to justify even a $500,000 or more investment on some of these very automatic machines, because you're paying a union laborer $60, $70 an hour or something. The math is pretty quick. But even like just a roofer he's not trying to be a big sheet metal shop. He just is sick of waiting on somebody else, or the quality is not to his standards. Now it's his standards. And then in terms of the software side with like Mike and New IT, people are saying if you don't get on board now, you're going to fall behind. Look at the evolution of any major company. I mean, look at Blockbuster. They thought streaming was a joke, and they thought DVDs and mail was a joke. And some companies we talk to, they're more old fashioned, don't see the benefit of something like New IT. And others are like, oh my gosh, if I can not call a human and just type in my order and hit go, and it shows up my door I mean, there's friction all over. And for some reason, some people think in our industry, because we're construction, that we can just ignore what's happening in the rest of our, in our civilization. So we are seeing more and more every day, and we don't think that trend's going to change.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. That was a fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
It's fascinating to see. And I don't want to speak to this too early, but you used an analogy that was used in a conversation this morning by another RT3 member. So when we get to that point, I'll share what that was. But
sure.
For now, I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint again.
And by the way, you mentioned the Florida show. We will be with New IT and with Machines at IRE in New Orleans. So anybody who's interested, of course, love to see you and love to see you come by.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan.
My pleasure. Thank you.